Welcome to another episode of MAX101. Today we are going to be talking about the standard operating procedure. Firstly, let's talk about the normal procedure for a preempt signal. If you don't know what a preempt signal is, firstly, watch this video first, episode 6 on preempt signals. So, you will be calling the signals, and normally what's supposed to happen, and I've talked about it before, you will call the signal from whatever station you're at. You will wait for the preempt to change to white vertical. The driver will ring the bell, 2 bells, and proceed forward to the next station. The signals should cascade down from one street to the next, to the next, to the next, all the way until you're at the next station, where you'll have to select the signals again. If you'd like to know more about selecting signals, watch episode 11 of the series on call loops. And this is true everywhere, where when a train is about to proceed, it will ring 2 bells. That's true throughout the entire system. So we've talked about that already. You should already know how that process works. But let's just say we are not living in a perfect world, and sometimes the signals do not call properly. Sometimes you'll just never get your signal, or it just won't appear to change, or nothing will happen, or it'll change but unexpectedly start timing out. As you're moving from station to station, you may have timed something incorrectly or whatever, and the signal begins to blink and switch back to a yellow horizontal. Well, if you're at an intersection that already has a call loop, like the entire transit mall, if you ride trains on 5th and 6th Avenue, every single intersection has a call loop. And so if that ever happens to you where you're going forward and you were either going too slow or something weird happened or whatever, and the signal changes to yellow horizontal by the time you get there, you can just recall the signal. Just call the signal by the time you get to the next call loop. But what if you're on Holiday Street and there are no call loops in between stations? Well, you are kind of screwed. The first thing you do is you need to call into control for permission to SOP the intersection. So this is going to be your standard operating procedure. So you're going to be SOPing the intersection. The reason you have to call into control before you just go along with the procedure is that there might be a train in front of you or workers in front of you or something, and you might not be able to see them from your train, and so just as an added safety thing, you have to call into control first, and then they will give you permission to SOP the intersection. The procedure is this. You will wait for a fresh green traffic light. So you're going to be following the traffic laws now. You're going to be waiting for a fresh green traffic light, so it needs to just change, and you need to wait for the walk signs. So fresh green light and the walk signs to be on in your favor. You will sound the horn, not the bell. You will sound the low horn twice, and then proceed to the next intersection, and you'll do the same thing. So at each intersection until you get to the next station, you will stop, wait for the traffic lights to turn green, honk, honk the horn like that, and go to the next station, and you'll have to do that until you arrive at the next station. Not very ideal, but it is kind of your only option from getting to the next station if you're stopped at an intersection that does not have a call loop. Again, if you're sitting at an intersection in between 2 stations, it might have a call loop, and you might just be able to call the signal again and proceed like normal. That way you wouldn't have to go through this. There is another option. There are a small handful of intersections that are not SOP-able, and so what you'll have to do, or sometimes it's just better to do it this way, you wait for a parallel move. What is a parallel move? If I'm driving forward, let's see, let me think on this, on how this camera's recording. I'm on the right track, so there'd be a track over here for trains coming in this direction. So trains coming toward me. So if that train has a clear signal to go through the intersection and is going, then you can go at the same time through the same intersection, even if your signal is not clear. Again, it's not ideal, but if you're going to be on a parallel move, you can do that. You can do parallel moves, but that option is not used as much. But it can work because the intersection is clearing for the train going toward you, and so that must mean that you must be safe as well. You might find yourself in a tricky situation on Burnside Street. I talked about it in one of my bonus episodes, 11A, I believe, on mass detectors. Burnside Street does not use normal call loops where you stop at the station and press the button. Instead, it uses mass detectors where it automatically will call the preempt when it detects the weight of a train on the tracks. So it'll automatically call the call loop. So if you take too long at a certain station, those call loops are first come, first serve. So basically, when the mass detector detects that your train is there, it will automatically call the preempts once. So if you're stopped at a station for a really long time, it's going to call the preempts, but you won't be able to call them again. So if you took too long and you make it to the intersection and then it's timed out by the time you get there, you got nothing else to do. You have no call loops, you have nothing to do, so you'll have to SOP the intersection. You do have a third option of getting yourself a clear signal as well, although this is probably the rarest of them all. Located on the steel bridge, I believe there's 2 of these, there's a push button. So if you're just not getting a clear signal, what you can do is you can drive your train slowly up to these push buttons, reach through your cab window and push it, and that could give you a clear signal. That gives you a direct call button that's not even inside the train. So that way, if anything's going on in the trackway or whatever, and the switches are messed up or something, you could still drive the train up to the push button and push it manually. It's kind of a last resort thing, but they do have those. Not very many of them, and it's very rare to see those in use, but yeah, they do exist. The way that the signal calling works, where you place your call in by pressing the button, well, an ambulance or emergency vehicle can do the same thing, and if they place a call before you do, they're going to get their signal first, and they're going to get the priority of going through the intersection before you get a chance to go. So if you're sitting at a station for an unusually long amount of time and your signal's just not changing, there might be an emergency vehicle nearby. Now let's say you're driving through Holiday Street, so kind of in the Lloyd District and Rose Quarter area. If I'm driving from Rose Quarter to the Convention Center station, and right as soon as I'm about to cross the intersection before Convention Center, a car just some idiot crosses in front of me and stops his car on the track or something. Well, obviously, I'm still sitting there at the intersection, and I've come to a stop at this point. The car's right in front of my train, and I watch my signal time out, and yay, it's back on yellow horizontal, and there's no way for me to move forward. And then when that car finally gets out of the way, I got nothing to do. There's no call loop there. And so I'm going to have to call into control to SOP the intersection. If you ever scan TriMet's radio, which I'll put a link to the radio in the description, and I'll do a video sometime in the future on how exactly to use the radio. But if you're ever scanning the central air, MAX central air, you'll hear every once in a while permission to SOP Holiday and Grand Avenue. And so that happens quite a bit. For some reason, I'm not sure if it's just a problem with signals or the fact that they should have put call loops at every single intersection, like on the transit mall, but you hear a lot of SOP calls coming from the Holiday Street area by the Lloyd Center. I don't know why, but a lot of calls seem to come in through there for SOPing an intersection. Now, I have only experienced this knowingly once. It's probably happened other times and I just didn't know it, but I've experienced it once, and I honestly have no idea if I was recording at the time. We were sitting at Providence Park forever. We were just sitting Providence Park eastbound. We had just entered Portland, and we were sitting there for a long time, and then all of a sudden I heard the horn honk twice, and we went forward to the next intersection, came to a stop, and it was the operating procedure. And I don't know why, but I randomly think we must have gotten our signal partway through, because I remember he stopped doing it partway through, If I can find the video, then I will play it now. But if I don't find the video, then I will make an episode 13A, and I'll link it down below if I ever find it, or if it ever happens to me while I happen to be recording. I'm going to be filming, there's going to be a time I'm going to go out to Portland and go film some stations, the Rose Quarter, Gateway, and all that, and I'll be passing through Holiday Street and through a lot of areas that might be SOP'd, so I'll keep my camera rolling, and I will post any videos of SOPs in action in the description below. And I think that'll be about it. I'll see you on the next one.